Gymnosperms are also known as conifers or the cone bearers. Gymnosperms are not producing any fruit or flower because that's the job of angiosperms. Their reproductive structures are going to be cones, both the woody, pointy versions you may be used to seeing, which are actually the female bit containing the ovules, as well as the smaller, spongy, dusty cones that are going to release all that delicious pollen that makes us sneeze. Those are going to be the male gamete portion. In order for reproduction to occur, the pollen from the male cones must find its way into a female cone. Now, by find its way is going to be a bit trickier for gymnosperms because they don't attract a lot of animals to help them spread their pollen like angiosperms do. So, gymnosperms have to rely on the wind to help a fertilized embryo be created that is then going to mature inside the cone, resulting in a seed. This seed is going to contain enough fuel to help it along until it germinates. However, for gymnosperms, many have adapted to their rough environments by requiring extremely unique conditions, like a forest fire, to allow for the releasing of the seeds for germination. Although this sounds pretty harsh, it ensures that the particular species has the very best chance of its seeds surviving in a very competitive ecosystem, one that's usually prone to a lot of leaf litter and forest floor detritus. The first gymnosperms evolved about 350 million years ago, and really the big difference between a cone-bearing gymnosperm and a flower-power angiosperm is that with our cone bearers, the seed is not protected by any ovary or post-fertilization fruit, but instead has to grow on the surface of that modified leaf in what we call a cone. Gymnosperms are very hardy with a well-developed vascular system of xylem and phloem. They have true roots and true stems and modified leaves. Here in California, gymnosperms are pretty popular, and if you've ever seen one, then you know they can get really, really tall because of that vascular tissue, allowing them to pull food and water against the force of gravity. Modern gymnosperms are what many of us call evergreen trees, meaning they don't seasonally drop their leaves. Although their modified leaves, which are going to be needles, those are going to drop throughout the year, but that's usually in response to the amount of sunlight or the amount of water that's available in the ecosystem. Here in California, wildfires are a huge deal, and we've had a pretty bad fire season these last couple of years that have devastated our communities, both in the loss of homes and the loss of lives. However, fire isn't always a bad thing. In fact, fire is a natural part of California's ecology. If you think about it, it's a pretty great tactic for gymnosperms to wait for a fire before they release their seeds. This allows the tree to conserve energy by not making a ton of seeds that don't result in trees, and when a fire does rage through, the species can take full advantage of the fresh slate and help to rebuild the forest. Pretty amazing if you ask me. Until next time, thank you for joining me on Exploring Environmental Biology.